good. All right. Now we're good. All good. Everything's good. Okay. No more technical difficulties. All right. So today I have with me probably one of the most well-known impact female players in the North American scene. And this is also FlyQuestRed, former IGL. So everyone please welcome Goose Breeder.
Hello, hello.
Just imagine the claps. Imagine the claps.
Yeah, the crowd's cheering.
There it is. Yeah. All right. One of the first questions I had to ask you. Also, Wraeth told me to ask you this. What the fuck's a goose breeder?
It's always this question. A goose breeder is me. A fragger in game, a beast in the server, and yeah, fun ball of surprises.
Okay. Wait, you actually like never bred geese before?
No, it's just a random name. I'm not a big liar. Otherwise, like I'd say I grew up on a farm or some shit, and usually that would like be the end of it. But then I feel bad that like someone's gonna go on believing like a fake story for like a decade.
Yeah.
And it'll be a lie. And the story's so boring.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that then.
Yeah.
We'll say farm girl. Farm girl to esports star.
Time.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Farm girl, esports star. She blew up from a small city.
Something like that. Yeah. Taylor Swift song. Make a song about it.
Near you.
When did you get into CS and like just start playing like just casually? And then when did you realize that you wanted to go pro?
I started playing casually in 2014. It's around 10 years actually ago. And I was very noob. I was like a silver elite when I got my MM rank. And I realized I wanted, well, I didn't necessarily know I wanted to compete right away, but I just recognized that I was improving quickly. Like I would play with friends, I would improve, and you know, they'd just be telling me like, oh, you're improving like so fast and stuff. And I would like be able to gauge through like other people. So that made me like interested in like playing more and improving more. In terms of like competing on teams, I roughly 9 months after like I started playing, I got noticed by like what was UB United at the time. So this was like basically think of like FlyQuestRed, CLG Red, like the OG, like one of the OG, like the OG core of the roster before there was orgs and stuff. It was called UB United. So that was like the team that like originated. So they needed like a player to play in like IM Katowice, and it was like Copenhagen games, like these two. And then I played like LAN ATS Montreal. So we played like 3 different LAN events. And I tried out for them and they picked me up, and that's kind of what started the like competition. And I think getting a taste on LAN was like what actually made me really want to keep going. So like going to LAN, experiencing that environment was just something that seemed fun. And then after like playing those few months, they dropped me because I was a noob, obviously. Playing for like 9 months, but I wasn't up to these standards. So it kind of just like lit a fire in me, like that I was gonna like prove them wrong and like grind and just like pass them up. And that's like what I aim to do.
Did you?
That's kind of how like the competitive journey started.
Yeah. So you said you started 2014 and then 9 months in. So like 2015ish, like, you've been playing. It was like
about 2015ish is when I started competing, like actual playing tournaments and stuff.
Dang, so you're about to hit 10 years like in the scene type stuff. Well, after like 1 year from now, that's crazy.
Like 10 years ish. Yeah, it's been a while actually. It's kind of crazy.
When did you? I'm assuming you didn't start off IGLing if you only played for 9 months. When did you get into IGLing?
It's funny because I actually IGL'd like some random team. So after I got dropped, I played like a mixed team with some friends. Slightly before that, I actually think I created like a mix of like like women I knew, and I actually called on that team. That was before I joined like Karma at the time. So that was like Dignitas, like the other roster that was on NA for years. So I did a little bit of calling, but like, you know, it was like whatever. It was just it was very newbie stuff. On a newbie team. So I technically had some leadership experience doing that. And I've always been a vocal person, so like I've always kind of spoken and said what I wanted to do and coordinated with my teammates and stuff like that.
So you already had like that assertive like type of personality, like.
Yeah, I've always been like kind of a co-leader on like all the teams that I've played besides like the very beginning, because I was super noob, like I didn't know what to call for or whatever. But I was definitely always pretty early on in my career was pretty vocal, and I do think I was like a big voice even when I was on like Karma and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was gonna ask you, because a lot of the questions do have to do with IGLing, because that's like my personal interest. But when I
Yeah.
was at Dallas, I think it was Bouchard. I call her Booger. She
It's kind of funny.
she said that you stepped down recently to like be like an impact rifler, right? Correct
Yeah,
me if I'm
so I
wrong.
could focus on just being a player again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, like, with that in mind, because you were mentioning how you have like an assertive personality.
Yeah.
I was curious, like, how was the transition from like IGL back to like a rifler? Like, what did that was like a net negative going from the IGL role to like an impact rifler role, or did that like did it actually help you out in like the new role that you're taking? Because I don't know, some things I was thinking of is like, when you're IGLing, a lot of the times like you're being a lot pretty selfless, and so you're not like really you're not like going for kills most of the time. Like you're like worried about your teammates, but then when you go to an impact role, like you got to be more selfish. But also on the flip side though, with IGLing, you learn to be more assertive. So I was curious, like for you at least, how was the transition from IGL back to like impact rifler? Was that like easy or?
So there's like a few things to play too. I do think depending on your leadership style, you're not always going to be like, there are like callers who call around themselves, or like I do like set people up, but I'm also like in a lot of the impact spots. Even when I was calling, like I didn't really change my roles at all. So it's like in the same spots. So I think for me, like there was a lot of the time where I'm calling around myself, like unless there's a teammate who's telling me, yo, like this and that and the other, or I'm like seeing a gap somewhere else, like then I can call other things. But or if I've like conditioned something and I know this will be weak, or I'm assuming what they're going to do next, like then I can call like around other people a little bit easier. But I don't think I'm the most selfless leader, if I'm being honest, but I don't think I'm like a selfish leader either. I think like I do like to call around myself, but I do like try to find opportunities for my teammates and set them up if I can. But it kind of just like, I just know the style that I like to play. So I kind of just like try to use like my strengths, the team strengths when I was calling. And also just like trying to call the map how I thought was like optimal. So when I stopped IGLing, it was like my decision. So it's not like the team came to me and they're like, yo, you suck, like step down, bro.
That would hurt.
It just became very stressful. Yeah. So I just felt really stressed out. I felt like I was grinding for a long time. I put a lot of responsibility on my shoulder, and like maybe I could have delegated better, but I don't know, just wanted to like win really bad, and I would do like everything it took to like be better, to win, to play better. And sometimes it's like when you try too hard, it's not always the answer. And I think that like I definitely put like too much of a burden on myself, to where like I just like couldn't like, and like if you're not winning, like it really sucks like the life out of you. And I think for like most IGLs, like losing, I think feels the worst for like the IGL, because like at least someone who like takes a lot of responsibility of the team, which is like, in my opinion, a good leader should take a lot of responsibility since you're the head of the team. It just sucks when you lose. So like, we like a year ago we placed like third in Dallas. That was like a really high point for me as an IGL, because like I took a team of like rookies, like put them together, and we actually made it like kind of far in a tournament and actually performed well. So that was like a really like, okay, like got this. And then like the next tournament we placed like last or something like that, and I'm like, fuck, like we're not improving, like this sucks. And it's like you grind so hard to not like even move forward. So like not progressing was really like stressful for me, and just felt like there was no reward for like all the effort. So it's like, even if you don't perform, like if your team is not performing better either, it doesn't feel like yeah, there's just no reward. So it's really like hard on the dopamine. Like it was really stressful for me. So I basically decided to step down. But I also trusted Kaude. Like we spent a lot of time playing together, and I think we like started seeing like similarly, and I felt like I could trust her as a player to like lead the team. And also like I wasn't just gonna throw her at the wolves. Like I was like, hey, like what do you think about calling? Like I just think I'm like it's way too stressful for me. And like I used to be like I was more of a co-leader. Like majority of my career, I was like a co-leader. So I wasn't the one always calling the shots. Like I would say things when I thought they were viable. And when you're like a co-leader, there's a lot less stress because you're not having to like think of a plan every single round. And on like some teams, the dynamic is different. Some people talk a bit more. Like it really depends on the dynamic of the team. But if you have a team that like has a lot of quiet players or not enough consistency in like expressing plans, being vocal, giving ideas. Like if there's not enough voice on a team, it becomes a lot of weight on one person. So like I have a lot of experience like co-leading, but I also had a ton of experience leading because I did it for like a few years. So I thought I had a lot to offer as like a co-leader, and Colleen, which is Kaude, and I like talked about it, and we decided that like I would still captain the team since I do think I have a really good mind for like how to build a team, how to improve structure. I have a ton of like insider info on like tier 1 teams and how they operate, and like just I think I just have a ton of experience and knowledge in that regard. So I think she does trust me as well, and the team obviously. So I still do like a ton of co-leading, but like Colleen is leading, doing most of the IGLing, obviously like taking over some leadership responsibilities. And I did like still, so because the switch was like kind of sudden, we like, we also exchanged, like we removed some players. I thought it'd be like kind of hard for her to learn like 6 maps at once, like from knowing from experience, like we had a tournament coming up, and to be like good enough on all those maps, like it's just really hard. Like it's really hard to make that kind of time in such little time to like master 6 maps or get like 4 maps good enough that you can like go into a BO3 really confidently. So like I was really experienced on Mirage, so I was like I know nobody does this, but I was like, why don't I just like keep calling Mirage? I'm really good at it. Like, you know, it'll just take something off your plate so you can focus on like everything else. So that was like how we started, and I think it worked because and it still works because we have like a lot of trust for each other, and it's not like I try to find my boundaries. Like I try not to step on her toes like on other maps and stuff like that. So you know, I think there can be like some gray line, like from switching from IGL to like no longer IGLing. I think like a lot of people can assume, oh, like maybe they're butting heads or whatever. And I think as long as there's like open communication and like understanding between like the two, I think it's fine. Like I talk to her a lot, and if we do have like any like disagreements or like I'm not understanding her, she's not understanding me, or like whatever, then we just like talk about it, and a lot of the time it like works out, and you like understand each other better, where they're coming from, and stuff like that. So ultimately, I think it's really freeing. It's just like I also have to start focusing on myself and make sure I'm not thinking too much about everybody else. So it's like a habit I need to like wind down a little bit. But I think it's really helpful because I do think I'm a very like high impact player. And I'm very consistent like performance wise, like throughout my career, especially on LAN. So I think like IGLing just makes it very hard to perform individually. When you're on a LAN, like your biggest concern is winning. Your biggest concern is making sure your team is doing well, taking care of your team, and like if your team is feeling stressed out, you look over, they look pressured, like it's a lot on like somebody's shoulder. So I think like being instead of co-leader and offering like that support pillar, but also being able to like perform individually, I think it's just also more enjoyable for me. Like I think competing so long and like having a lot of stress with less reward, it becomes kind of taxing on my mental. So yeah, I figured swapping to this would give me some more dopamine and enjoy myself a bit more. Yeah, because honestly, it was kind of hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hold on.
Long story short.
People are saying the audio is dying.
Okay.
I don't know why that nothing should be changing. You sound fine to me. I think it might just be the stream. Sorry, what you I cut you off. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. That was like the gist of it. It's kind of like a long story, but that's kind of like my thoughts going into like the swap, basically.
Okay. Yeah, you're talking about the lack of reward was like taxing your mental. I remember hearing. You ever seen Healthy Gamer on YouTube?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, he's
like
goated.
Dr. K.
Yeah, Dr. K.
Yeah, he's super smart.
Yeah, I remember
I watched him like yesterday. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, for real? That's my guy.
Yeah.
That's my guy. But he was talking about burnout. I think one of the 5 like factors of burnout is reward, and like if you're lacking reward, like that's a big cause for burnout. So it's interesting you say that.
Yeah.
But with the stress in mind, because like the amount of work that you're putting in, you said you should have derelegated some of that work to other people.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I guess like if you're to like give advice to people who are getting into IGLing, like what would you have done differently looking back now to make it easier for the IGL? Like where you're not taking up everything. Like I don't know, like some people out there probably like scheduler, you know, strat caller, they all get like the eco plays too, they call pit. Like what are some things that you realize that you could probably like give to other people that would make it easier as a for IGLs?
I think you need to look at your team and see the strengths. And there's also a lot of leadership books out there. I'll remember the names later for anyone interested, but I learned some of that through like books too. And it talks about like being a good leader and delegating and stuff. So delegating, the way it works is like, it's like a trust system. So as a leader, like you should give like little breadcrumbs to like your subordinates, like your teammates, and you should see like how they do. And you shouldn't kind of like leave them out to like die. Like if you give them a task, you should kind of watch them, try to help them with it in an ideal world. And if they do well, then you elevate the responsibility. So you keep elevating responsibility. And if they can't handle that responsibility, like you can try to teach them. And if they improve or whatever, then you can keep giving them more responsibility. And it builds a lot. It builds confidence. It builds like a sense of like ownership. Like, you know, if you give somebody a task, they're going to own it and they're going to make sure they do like their best job. So if like you tell Billy like, yo, Billy, I want you to bring me like this kind of round. I need a strat. I need a pistol. Like I need you to bring that for me. Like Billy is likely going to come back and like, ideally, if he's like a decent teammate, he's gonna like do his best. He's gonna like come there. He's gonna try to explain everything, whatever. And he's gonna, most importantly, he should understand this strat from like A to Z because like he brought it, right? So delegating is really useful for a lot of reasons, but it's also important for like trust, and also as like you just can't do everything by yourself. It's like fucking impossible. Like if you think of your like brain as like an energy source, it's like it's gonna burn quicker. So if you're doing too much, you're burning, like that shit's going down quick. So like delegating is very essential for like your own well-being. So I think like that's like a way you can start off, but I think understanding like the strengths in your players, like what do they bring, what are they good at, and you don't necessarily need to give a ton of responsibility to everybody. But like, let's say like one of your teammates is very vocal, very like commanding, then like maybe you give them responsibility of like commanding their site or something like that, or bringing a few plays they like to they call. Like not everybody's going to be a shot caller, always going to be telling you what's like happening. Ideally, like comms are great, but especially in like the non-pro scene, like you're and even in the pro scene, like there's not enough space for 5 people to always talk. So it's important to like understand what kind of players you have and delegate like accordingly, like to their strengths. So I think that's like a very generic thing. But like thinking when I was like, I think I got a lot better at calling, like especially like I still do some calling now, and I think I still like do a good job. But I think a big thing is like trust. Like when you start getting into IGL, you think that like you have to call all the shots. You have to do that. Like you have to do everything. It's really important for the players to also feel like they have a voice. The thing with too many voices though is that you lose an identity. So like you can't have people doing a ton of different shit. Like it needs to make sense. So you just need to find a good balance where like players can operate on their intuition to a degree, right? Like otherwise you're a robot. If you're following a strat from A to Z, you don't realize when you should cancel a strat. So you don't cancel a strat, you run into your death like you're a robot. And also like when players are not playing intuitively, they're usually not performing to their best. So like a player who's like in their zone, their peak of their game, they're playing intuitively. Like they're just, man, I don't know, I was just feeling the game. Like they can't even describe why they did things. That's like playing intuitively. And if you're playing like a robot, you're not playing like intuitively. So I think it's important for like players to feel like they can take risks where they deem fit. And it's just like, it's a good balance because you obviously don't want to be like canceling every strat your caller calls. Like you can't even call a single round because it keeps getting canceled. But like, there just needs to be a good balance there. So I think like a lot of leaders might struggle in that regard. And even like I probably could have done a better job when I started off. But I think it's a hard task to like be a good IGL, especially at the gate. Like you're gonna learn like from your mistakes. You're not gonna do a great job in the beginning. You might do an okay job, but yeah, everyone's gonna have like their own vices, I guess, what they're not very good at. The only other thing I could say is like understanding again, like you don't have to do it all. So like if you aren't the perfect leader, you struggle in some regard, you can also look at your team and say like, hey, who might be able to pick up my slack in this department. So like if you I don't know. So from the book that I like understood this from, the example was it's like a military situation and the leader was very quiet. So think of like the military and imagine being quiet. No one can fucking hear you. Like you're shouting, like there's like guns shooting, like no one's gonna hear the commander. So everyone's lost. So how he used his like team to cover his weakness was he took the loudest guy and put him next to him. So he would say the command to the loudest guy and the loudest guy would shout it. And the way it like works is they keep shouting the command and people keep passing it on. So eventually the whole like the whole like crew, forgot what the fuck they call him, but the whole crew knows the order because he put the loudest fucker next to him. Sorry for swearing, but
you can swear. You can swear
next to him. I'm like, it's Twitch and they're CS players, like they probably swear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how they like compensated for weaknesses. So like, yeah, you don't have to be perfect. It's okay to suck in some regard. You know, every leader has their thing that makes them great and a thing that makes them okay. But like, yeah.
See, I always thought that was really interesting because like I always thought that like there was just like one way to like the most like the best way to call or like the best way to play CS. But like as more like I've gotten into it, I realized like that just does not exist. It's all about like it's actually about the players, like, and who is on your team, and like what you're saying, working to your strengths and weaknesses, and building like your own identity, like, because I mean, you see at the pro scene, like just these different teams that are all like the best teams, and they play against each other, and they just play different, and it just works. Like, they don't all play the same. Like, they don't all like, I don't know. It just
if we all played the same, it'd be super readable.
Yeah,
like, for sure.
Yeah, and like. That's the other big thing is like there's always multiple answers to like each situation. It's like finding which one works the best for you. One of the things I wanted to ask though, because you went from IGLing to I guess secondary calling now, right?
Yeah.
So what are like, because you used to IGL, like you know like the pains of like IGLing and like how like it can be like stressful. What do you do now as a co-caller that like, thinking back to your IGL days, you're like, oh, I'm just trying to make it easier for KO Day to call. Like, what are some things that, you know, for co-leaders or like, you know, more assertive players that they could pick up from you that like you currently do that make it easier for your IGL to make calls?
Yeah.
Like besides like actual just like secondary, because I mean everyone knows like, oh well, I'll just call a strat, but like I'm thinking about like the
besides the obvious stuff like say an idea.
Yeah.
Because you're expected to like say an idea if you're the co-leader.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. I'm trying to think because there was a few things I like remembered when going into it, like things I was watching out for. One thing that's like very basic is I know that like when you're trying to call, it's very overwhelming when everyone keeps talking and keeps moving around and shit. So like you're trying to make a call, you're like, go, yo guys, like I want to do, and then someone's like, no one fucking hears the caller. So, and then like people run around and they die. And now like, it's like, oh my God, now I got to make a new call. Like, so sometimes it's just hard to juggle shit when you're like an IGL. Like you might be like I'm ADD too. So like I was calling and ADD. So like I would get overwhelmed by like people, like if everyone was talking, like, oh my God, I'm gonna like freak. So I was very like particular with like when I wanted to talk, like people need to stop talking. But like people can't read your mind when you're IGLing. So like I would understand that like if like my IGL is trying to talk, I would say, guys, listen, or comms, or like sound, or like I would basically, we have a command that's like listen, or like a keyword that says, yo, I'm about to make a call. Keywords are very helpful because they can like convey a big just a big meaning or a short meaning. It conveys something quickly to the team and they understand what's about to happen. So like you might think that your info is important, but it's not more important than like the call that's about to be made, right? So you just like maybe just hold your angle and play for what you think's about to happen while you listen to like the call or something like that. And then maybe when the call's done, you give your info like, hey, yeah, we need to worry about this though. Like this is important right now though. Like we can do this, but like I think we need to do this. Like then you can give your info after. So I think as like a co-leader, I understood what was difficult with leading, and I tried to help when I notice that's happening. So like if if she's like, too busy trying to think or talk, then like I'll chime in and be like, guys, listen, or guys, quiet, like something like that. Or obviously like if you notice like, because you're used to calling, you might notice like situations to reset, freeze, like play advantages, stuff like that. Like those are like very, very basic things you can just say because you understand like the situations. Besides that, I think like when you're going from IGL to co-IGL, you don't want to do too much. So like your IGL will have some sort of flow. And I always like check in with my IGL. I'm like, yo, am I giving you too much? Like, is it too much? Is it overwhelming? And so far, so good. But like definitely like freeze time, like giving your IGL like a moment to think, a moment to speak is important. If everyone's like giving like too much, like you're saying like 5 different people are giving ideas, it's like 10 seconds has passed in the freeze time and like your IGL hasn't even gotten a chance to like process everything, make the comm, give the call, everyone's out of spawn late. So it's important to like really give priority of like speaker, unless you have a very like, you say quick, like, yo, this would work, they do this. Like if you could say that quickly, that's fine. But like if too many people are like feeding info or like spamming the voice comms, then like, I mean, it's even assisting them in that regard. Like guys, quiet. Like if you can tell people are like chirping in freeze time and your caller needs to talk, like it's good to just like help keep people in check. It's not like they're doing it on purpose, but like it's like the heat of a game, it happens. So it's like good to kind of keep everyone in check, to help your IGL out. Because I know when I was calling, like it would be like very annoying for me to hear like, not necessarily like it might even be somebody like complaining about last round. Like that shit was like my pet peeve. I was like, I don't want to hear anyone complain about last round, like ever.
Yeah.
Like I never want to hear that. Like that was like my #1 rule. Like if it's not relevant, I don't want to hear it right now. So it's kind of like a drill sergeant with that. So that was like a very big rule for me. And I just like try to keep it in mind, like when we're playing. So those, off the top of my head, those are like the main things you can do. And I mean, yeah, outside of the game, it's just like offering ideas or like just owning your spot. I think like one thing that can be helpful is like the IGL, like, well, the way like our system works is like we can have a lot of like micro mini plays in different areas. So we can kind of puzzle together a lot of different rounds. And it's important to like own your area as a player, even just a co-IGL or a player. Like when I was IGLing for a long time, I felt like I had to like master even my players' positions. And I think that's like not what you should be doing as an IGL. You should like master the macro of the game, understand the micro, obviously, but like the players are like the masters of their micro. They should know their shit. They should know what they're doing. And that should be like where you're owning your craft. So like, I mean, what I mainly try to do as a co-IGL is like, I'm trying to paint the picture like as often as I can. If I write it to her, if I just like here and there, I'm like trying to tell her how they rotate. I'm trying to give her the big picture of how I think they set up, like what their macro is. if I see gaps in their setups, if I think certain styles would work or whatever. Those are all things like you can do. And obviously, like, you just need to dance around a line where you don't want to like overstep, and like obviously they get the last say and shit. So those are a few things. Honestly, it should be like enough to work with. But off the top of my head, yeah, I think that's like how you can start off.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a good answer. I was gonna say, in terms of, I feel like something that a co-IGL can never do enough is just give information. I feel like stepping on toes only comes when it comes to, like, making calls, because, like, I mean, all the IGL is doing is like making calls based on information. So as long as you're like just feeding that, like, I feel like that's something that just should have no limit, unless you're talking for like 30 seconds, like, then you should shut the fuck up. But I feel like information probably is like no limit. But like when it comes to like making actual calls, it's like that's where you probably want to talk to your IGL, like if you're overstepping. One thing you're talking about too was being like backed up by your teammates. I was just gonna say, you know Andrew, right? I think you know Infohip.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, he was that was my dude for me when we be playing. Like, I don't know, like Trevor would be talking or something, Andrew's be like, "Yo, shut the fuck up!" Like when I'm trying to like make a call, like I don't know, that shit just feels so good. Like when you have like someone backing up like what you're saying, or especially like even if you make a strat and then they're just like, "Oh, that's a good idea." Like I like that. Like that feels great too. Like
it's just like your hype man, like the person who's got your back.
Yeah, like
I think you need at least somebody. You need at least one person who's like got your back as the leader, because it can be hard otherwise.
Yeah, like an enforcer or something, like just to tell people to shut up and then also like to hype you up for your calls. Like I don't know, that shit feels great as an IGL. Andrew said, "I got you, boy," in the chat.
It does feel good when like you think of the same idea. Like sometimes the coach will pause and I'll be thinking the same idea he's about to say, or I'll say it and like he was like, "Yeah, I was just like," you know what I mean? It or even a player like me and my IGL sometimes do that, and it's like, my man, you know, like it feels good and it gives like the extra confidence in the round. And honestly, confidence plays a huge role. And you could run like an awful strat, but like everyone's going in that shit like, yeah, let's fucking rock. Like, you know, you could just like outfrag them, and you know, it does make the difference sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. You also mentioned code words briefly in that, which I wanted to touch on too. Is like, do you have any like, I mean, there's like obvious code words that I feel like every team already use at this point, like, you know, freeze or like snap or, you know, basic code words like that. Are there any like niche code words that you found to be like very helpful for you and your team? I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head that we use. Like, I can think of like Cojomo. Cojomo was talking about like dolphin or something, dolphin and shark, like to slow down, speed up. They had like some weird niche code words like that. Weird word. Dolphin, weird choice of words. But do you have like any niche code words that you found to be like extremely helpful like in a team environment?
So we're like religiously code word, our team. Like religiously about code words. Like it really makes a big difference the more you work on them, and it creates a lot of space in the comms. So like there's less like clutter in the comms. Like now when you talk, it's more important. And you know, even with like we call them like simplified terms, but like they're just code words. Even with that, like sometimes there's still like too much talking and stuff like that. So it really does help like paint the idea quickly. Some like I think like to start is like a basic framework of like what I think is important. So like you want it to like click really well. Like with your team, it doesn't have to click with everybody else. It just needs to click with your team. So if it makes a lot of sense to your team, ideally it should be quick to say. So like you should think of like how many syllables it says. Sometimes somebody will give an idea and it's like 3 or 4 syllables, and I'm like, no, like insta hard veto your idea. It's too long to say. Like imagine you're in a heated moment and you're like, I don't know, dolphin's kind of quick, but like if you say like ricochet, like it takes so long to say that. Or like camera, I don't like camera as a call out. Camera, it's like it's people say cam and shit, but like
two's the limit.
You're gonna notice that like a lot more after I said this. But like there are a lot of like words people say, or even call outs for positions that are just way too long, and you just can't say them quickly. It's like a tongue twister. So like keep it short. Ideally, if it resonates with the concept, then that's even better. And ideally, it should be like something transferable across like different maps. So that's like even better. So if you can create like code words that you can transfer, then that's really good. Like something very basic is like a check, and it's really easy. I think anyone would understand if I said I could go into a pug and most people will understand. Like I'm gonna mid check. So like it might for me it's like someone flashes me, I check and I reset. So it's like important. So my team understands I'm not like hard committing. I'm going for like a quick peek and I'm gonna reset. Like I'm gonna get info. I'm gonna take a pick and fall. A really like common one you're gonna hear. A lot of teams have this already. It's called Joker. So for us, like what Joker means is you have a flank, and it means that like your team needs to survive or create some type of pressure that's like obviously not very obvious, but they need to like survive and be ready to like react on your timing. And as like people who've like have experience playing, you can't just like sit super quiet when you have a flank. It's like very obvious that you're getting flanked. Most people will read a flank when like everyone's quiet. So it's important to like create a little bit of pressure when they're ready. So like if I say like Joker in 5, sometimes like we'll give a timer so that people understand the timing of the flank. If I say like Joker in 5, then my team knows, okay, like in about 5 seconds, I'm going to go. So like I need to create a little bit of pressure like before she goes, so they're not hard clearing her or worried about the flank. So that's like one word we have already.
That one's I like that. I've never thought about that. Like if someone's flanking, they're usually like, "Yo, just don't do anything. All right, can you just shoot for me?" Like, and it's like that takes a lot of words.
Imagine when you're flanking and you fucking die because you're
Yeah.
Everyone's done it. Yo, can you
and then you're dead.
Fucking dead. Because you're not focused on your crosshair. So Joker in 5, like
I like that
just
one.
Joker is fine too sometimes. Yeah, that's like one. We have some basic ones like block. Block means like you're just blocking an area off. It could be smoking something. It could be mollying something. It could be like you're blocked. So like if I'm like trying to call something or or whatever, and my teammates like I'm blocked, like they can't go. Or you say like, yo, they're not B, block A. Like there's a lot of ways you can use that. And you can even give a timer, like a smoke, if you want to be like extra with it. Like smoke down X timer. So blocking is really easy. Think we have some good ones. I can't give all my trade secrets away.
That's what you're here for.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that one's good, but like, is my coach gonna be mad if I say that one? Yeah, we have a lot. Honestly, just like having basic like words for like reclearing. So like you might like block areas and you might like shift your pieces and push another area. Like you might need a name for that. We have a name called like VP. So like if we VP something, it's just like we're reclearing a spot.
Also like so you're like stuffing. So we say stuff instead of block.
Yeah, stuff
same shit.
John says stuff too.
Okay.
But we don't like that word.
You don't like that?
So we say block.
Okay.
No. The team is not like stuff.
But you're talking about VP though. So you're saying you block certain areas and then you regress together. So like, can you give me an example of that? Like, I'm trying to picture.
I mean, yeah, there's a ton of examples, and you're probably gonna see this like when you watch like pro level demos. They do this too. It might even be like if you watch like disadvantages in high level play, you'll often see they have a reaction. A lot of teams will like do like heavy numbers and they'll go together and they'll push something. They might stack something. It's like a little different based off like the situation of the team, whatever. A really basic one on Mirage is like you block upper B and you push cat and then you reclear mid.
Yeah.
Anubis, people will reclear mid. Ancient, people will reclear mid. You might even block fucking donut on Ancient and you push B. So there's another way we could say that. It's like, let's 3-1. Like it'll be more of like where the numbers are. So it's kind of like dependent on like what you're trying to do. But those are like examples. It's like a macro reaction that's often assumed like you're going to like try to use utility to your advantage. And if you watch like high level teams, you're going to notice they do that. A lot of teams like operate that way.
Yeah. I was just picturing one. Tell me if I'm wrong. I saw this like in a demo
Mhm.
the other day. It was on Ancient, like you said, reclearing mid. The guy smoked B, and then like he regrouped two and two house, two donut, and then like they both just all four of them just cleared mid like that. That would be
Yeah,
like the
so
VP call that you guys use.
yeah, VP is like a little map specific right now,
Okay.
but excuse me, but you could just universally make that VP for your team. Like VP means block and re-clear, like mid or something like that. But yeah, that's essentially it. Like, because the thing is, like, when you're using utility, you're denying it, they need to take a risk to go through that smoke. So you're like, you have a timer on that utility, and with that timer, you can use it to be strong somewhere else.
Yeah.
So like, if you're in a disadvantage, you can't play for everything. You're gonna lose the round. Like 9 out of 10 times, you're gonna rely on heroics to win you the round, and often you're not gonna have like good probabilities because over time you're going to lose like more rounds than you're going to win. So it's like better to play the probabilities. So like in a disadvantage, you got to find a way to like create an advantage. And by doing that is like blocking an area so they cannot, like it's going to be risky for them because you might be there. Like maybe they don't know what you're doing. You might have pushed the other site and now you're blocking the other site. Now you're stacked there. They don't exactly know what you're doing just by throwing a smoke somewhere. They have to guess. So there's a level of risk for them to like go on that timing of your utility, and you can toy with like different things like that to like gain an advantage. So re-clearing mid is like utilizing the timer of the smoke as an example to re-clear, because like let's say they took mid from you, because obviously you wouldn't just like do it randomly. Like if you know they came out mid and like you know you're not sitting good, someone got picked or whatever, then you need to like come up with some plan. So that's like an example. You could just use a keyword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting to put a code word to that, because I feel like I would do that intuitively, but I never thought like how that you could just apply that to like all maps with blocking and reaggressing. On the same lines of this conversation, what I didn't have this written down, but you got me thinking about it. Like what other mid round, like I guess you can't really call them set plays, but like philosophies can you like apply to all maps that can like because I think like a big thing that, so like when it came for me with IGLing, it was like I mastered like just fucking basic strats and setups, like basic like starting round philosophies, like this is how you can like, this is like a good opener, like that was like the big thing that all I cared about. And then I was like, and then it got to like executes, and then eventually code words, and then like it's like okay, mid round reactions where it's like it's not really like a set play, but like VP example, like something like along those lines. Do you have like other weird, like I don't know what to call them, like what would you just call them, like mid-round philosophies, like how to approach mid-round situations? Do you have like any other ones you could think of for both T and CT side?
The easiest way to go about that is like when you call like a strat, you should have a general understanding of what's to come. So like Mirage, like I don't know, the most like, let's just say you're playing for mid. Are you getting fights mid? Yes or no? Right? Like you go through the most like basic scenarios. If they're playing for here, if they're playing for there, what does that mean? So like when you run a strat, you should be aware of like, let's just say you're perfecting one strat. We'll just start with one strat. And it might even be like a defaulty type strat where you like contain and control an area and you progress into like another part of like a strat or a different way of controlling things. We just call them like modules or like end rounds. So like you might start a round, you might have a module to like work a certain part of the map, and you might have a way to end the round. So you can kind of like, how I like to see it is as a puzzle. So like I like to puzzle different parts of the round. So it creates like it becomes harder to read, because like if you just say let's run like purple every round, then they know the tempo of purple is always like this. So you need ways to like change up your tempo, change up what the round looks like. You might even do the same look of purple, but you change up how it looks. So you might even be running the same fucking round, but they don't know because you're doing something else that makes it hard for them to read you.
Wait, can I ask something real quick? So like the modules, or you're talking about like so like you have like a default and then a module, something like you slot in and out within the default. Is that what you're saying?
It's like it's just a way of like doing something. So it's like on Mirage, it might be like if you're underpass and you like smoke top con and you molly in con. You might have a name for just that one way of clearing. You might have a name for like just like a different set of utility. You might have a name for just stuff like that, like a different way of re-clearing something, things that it's not necessarily the beginning of the round, it's not necessarily an end of the round, it's just like a way to control a part of the map. You might just have a basic name for that. So you could say, guys, I want to re-clear mid, let's do like spirit, and spirit means something to your team, and then your team knows, okay, we're going to re-clear mid, but I need to make sure that I'm going to throw this into con because we need to flush it out or something like that. So that's like an example of like puzzling together like different parts of the map, and it like helps you be less telegraphed, it helps you be like more dynamic, and it helps you like react to what's happening. And the more you like build on that, the harder you become to read and the more answers you have. So going to like what you were kind of talking about is like you should have basic reactions already planned out to some level, whether your whole team knows them or like you kind of need to be like cooking as an IGL too. Like sometimes I'll be like getting ready for bed and I'm like thinking of like, that felt fucking weird. Like, what are we gonna do if they do that? And then the next day I have my answer and I'm like, okay, if they do this, I'm gonna do that. And it's like really easy for me to call that. I don't necessarily have to tell my team every single thing, like every single reaction. They don't need to always know every single reaction. Ideally, your team should know most of them though. Like you should be agreed that when I do this, you do that, because otherwise it's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be hard for them to like quickly like pick up on without like messing something up. Because you don't want to have to like describe a whole like essay to like get the point across. You want to be like clear, concise, and to the point. That's like half the point of code names, right? So like, let's say they push top mid on you. Like you should have a reaction. Let's say the setup is like half your team is A or something. Like if they're pushing you top mid, the most basic reaction is like, go A. There's like 3 mid on me or 2 mid on me. That means like A is probably weak. So if your whole team is there, you should already know, okay, go. So I might have said, yo, run pickle. And then we're not running pickle anymore because they're pushing me mid, guys, go. Like that's a reaction. So there should be like basic things that you can typically like predict, that you should kind of already have an idea of how you're going to react. And obviously like the more you play, the more you'll understand, okay, this is how I want to react to this and that. And also like when you call certain strats, you know what's weak. So ideally you kind of have an idea. Like if you're playing a heavy mid round and you don't have like the timing to split, are you going to re-clear this? Like a wing died, are you going to re-clear the wing? Are you going to take advantage of like the timing and just split the other side? Like what's the plan there? There's a lot of answers, so it's just about like knowing your style and stuff like that. Also going into like the mid round, like you said, a big thing is also knowing how to play like advantages and disadvantages, and just knowing how to play the odds. So a good way to see this is to think about how like you would play in their shoes. So like if you're up 5v3, is a fake gonna really make a difference? If you think about it, like if one guy's selling a fake, is your team gonna really shift that hard to like a fake in a 5v3? Like you should be good on the sites that it doesn't create much of a reaction. So like understanding that, you should be pretty strong packed together trying to do something ideally as 3. You don't necessarily have to be all 3 in one spot. You could be like 2-1 and splitting the site. It could be like something like that. Like 4v5s, like back when, what was there, Gambit? I remember watching Gambit on Vertigo or something like that. And the way they played some 4v5s was playing like 3-1. But the one would ideally be like linked to the end round. Like they wouldn't be like off in Narnia most of the time. They'd most of the time be like connected to the end round. So they're like technically with the team, but they're creating a diversion or they're creating like a thorn in the side to create pressure while like the pack is together doing something off of that. So like a good way to mid round is to often understand how you want to play the scenarios. Advantages, really important, is to just relax and play the advantage. A lot of the time people will throw advantages by doing more than they need to. In a 5v3, it is very hard for the other team to win. They need to do something heroic, or they need to stack a site. They need to make the right gamble. There's a lot of solutions to like both. It's like not getting caught by yourself in somewhere that's untradeable, and avoiding a stack or having a good answer to if we run into a stack. So that's like the most basic ways you're going to see like a 3v5 played. So it's like understanding what you're expecting from the other team and having like a protocol. And your individuals need to be really sharp on not getting caught off guard. So like, even as an individual, you need to understand like, oh, it's a 5v3. I need to be like really solid in my spot. Like I got to make sure like if they peek me, I kill them. Or I need to be playing information or something like that. So I spot them, I see what they're doing, and I get the fuck out or whatever. There's like a lot of ways to play it. But I think a lot of that will like help you already with like how to play the mid rounds on CT. It's very similar, just slightly different. You're thinking more like if it's a 3v5, what's my best chance in this round, right? Like it's not playing 1-1-1. You're gonna fucking lose.
Yeah.
You're gonna 1v5, you're gonna 1v4, like really, bro? No, you're not. You're not gonna fucking 1v4. Like maybe if you're donk on Red Bull on like a rainy day, like you're gonna do it, but it's not like a good odd to play. So like you wanna set yourself up in a situation where maybe you find them on a good timing. Maybe you read the round well. You're 3v5, but you're like reading the round maybe. So maybe you do something all together, or again, like you block a site and then you go together and you hunt for kills. Like maybe you find two people, like maybe they're going 3-2 and they're trying to split the site or something, and you kill like the two. Now you're in a 3v3, or maybe like one of your guys died and it's a 2v3, but now you know where they're going and whatever. So CT side is a bit of that too. CT side obviously has a disadvantage because you have to spread your numbers out, or Ts can just group up and hit a site together. So that's kind of like why they have an advantage for the most part in terms of numbers. So when you're a CT, you kind of need to understand that. That's why like you don't want to just play like 1-1-1 or like spread out, because you're going to be spread thin. So that's like a bit of what you should be thinking about when you're a CT, and try to, how do I like get a step ahead of them? Maybe you want to take the risk and you're like, you have two people on one site, maybe you like find information, or you think like this is a good risk to take. Typically like the disadvantage equals you're going to need to take some level of risk. You can't just like play super safe. So, and then the more the advantage, the less risk you need to take. So it's like kind of like a little slider of like risk versus reward. And the more disadvantage, the more you just like, you need to take a risk to win the round, or you just save. And if you're in an advantage, the less risk you need to take, because it's not worth the reward of like throwing around and losing.
Yeah, that makes a lot. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense with the how it flip flops based on your numbers. Yeah. One of the things that you were talking about was the gamble stacks, and that's like something I was like. So like on T side, if you're like in the advantage, right, you're like either you're expecting a re-aggro or a gamble, and it's like, how do you prepare from both? Like, would you just pack up towards one site and let one guy like scout out the other? Is that like the safest way to approach it, or?
I have my methods. I'm not going to tell the whole world. They'll have to watch my demos and figure it out. But there's a few ways you can play it. Scouting is very basic. You could just hit a site really good. You could play the timings. Let's say you get 2 kills right out the rip, and a lot of your team is already in position to hit that site.
Snap.
Just fucking go. Just go together and go. Yeah, we call it like speed. It means like go quick.
That's dolphin for Cojomo.
Like, yeah, I don't like dolphin, Cojomo. You gotta change it. It's terrible. Dolphin. Like what? Really? Dolphin's the best you can think of, bro? Anyway, it's because they have a SeaWorld theme. I get it. Like,
they
it's
do?
their theme. I mean, they got shark, right? Shark, dolphin.
Shark, dolphin.
They got turtles.
But their names take flight, though. So they gotta, like, fly, too. Nat Geo. It's like, a Nat Geo theme. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Something about animals. I mean, hey, it's their theme. I'm not going to fuck with it. It's their system. If they want to be dolphin, yeah. I'm not going to judge. Not my thing, though. But, yeah. So there's a lot of ways to play it. If you have the advantage, you're already in position, just fucking go. If you're all spread the fuck out, you're not in position to capitalize off an advantage anyway. Because, like, what are you going to go one by one? You're going to go, like, spread out. That's how you lose, right? You give them picks. So you don't typically want to speed in that scenario. A lot of time people just reset and they do something collective. You could just go all together, hit something really strong. You have a ton of util, just use it and you win the round. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to play it. But yeah, they're like, honestly, if you have a team you like to watch, you think their strategy is good. If you just ask yourself these questions, the more you watch them, you're gonna know they have a theme. Like they will. When I was first like trying to learn this kind of stuff, I watched a lot of heroic, like back when it was like Cadian and whatever, and they were like one of the top teams. They had a lot of gamble stacks. It was like overpass. Since we don't play overpass anymore, they would do a lot of like aggression shifting stacking, and like blocking and like using their numbers in the right places. And it's really hard for like teams to read them at the right time. But the thing is like, because they would have so many numbers in one spot, it's like a risk they're taking, but it's not, because there's so many fucking numbers there that if the T's do kill them and they speed up, they hit a stack. So it's like still fine. Yeah, so like some teams have like an identity, a way they like to play, and if you watch them on a map enough, like you'll start to notice like trends. I watched like 15 Vitality Anubis demos, and like they kind of have their own style. And then I watched like G2, they don't play the same, they're different, and then they have their own style. Nico likes to play mid his own way. Obviously, the more a team plays, they do have to have change up. You can't just always do the same thing. People are going to have answers to that. You need to like kind of condition other things, or, you know, kind of flex other things. So yeah, I think just like watching a team you like and trying to like catch on to trends, and you're going to find like good answers, and you're definitely going to see it, because they don't just they definitely like have reactions. Like all the tier 1 teams have something. Navi probably definitely has something, because they got Blade. So if you want a really easy team, you probably just watch Navi.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was always like the hardest thing for me to learn, because like mid-round calls are like so heavily influenced by your team's comms, and when you watch a demo, you don't get any of the comms. And so it's like, are they doing this because this was like part of like their, I don't know, decision tree in the default? Or are they doing this because of some other information on the side of the map? It's like you really don't know that stuff. And it's so hard to like.
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah. It's like
if you go through every POV, I used to do that. I would go through every. I was like, why did they do that? I don't fucking get it. And I would go back to the round again. I'd watch this guy. Like, go back. I'd watch this guy, and I would like compare the timings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's why he did it.
Yeah.
Because I could tell there had to have been something relayed that like that created that reaction. But there are times you just really don't fucking know.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Yeah.
Just like chalk it up, go next.
skip the round.
Happens.
Yeah. I always just found that so hard. Because like, you know, openers, like, okay, just write down who throws what util and who you just assign your teammates to do that. Like, that's so easy to transfer to your own team. But yeah, mid-round calls, yeah, I guess you have to do what you're doing. It just takes a lot more work.
You need a decision tree a bit. It does take, I mean, that's why it's hard to do, right? If anyone could just say, run like chicken nugget, then like every team could be pro, but it's hard because there's like so many variables, and the good players, they know how to react in so many variables.
Yep. Yeah.
Real.
The other question I wanted to ask you too was, so I asked you about code words, but I want to ask you about like responsibilities. So like, I think I was saying derelegating earlier. You said delegating?
Delegating.
Okay, delegating. Yeah.
Deregulating.
Yeah,
deregulating.
Yeah. When it came to, well, it doesn't even have to be when you're IGLing. What are some like good roles that you should assign to players on a team that like goes beyond like, oh, you're the entry or you're the opper, but it's like they're just responsible for like this one thing, and it helps the team run smoothly. So like example is like I always had like a timeout guy. Like, you're the timeout guy. So, because if everyone else expects everyone else to call timeouts, then no one's going to call them, because it's the bystander effect, you know? So it's like, have you found...
It's also hard when you're a player to
call
timeouts.
Yeah. So yeah, did you have any like responsibilities or roles that you found to be pretty helpful assigning to people, or maybe you were assigned certain roles?
Yeah, timeout guy is actually a good idea, because like... unfortunately, a lot of like teams don't have a coach or something like that, someone who can like actually do the timeouts, and they're the best person to do it because they're not like in the game playing it. For me, it's super hard to like to take a timeout when I'm playing, because I'm super like in the moment kind of player, where like sometimes I like when you win a game, you don't even realize it's over kind of player. Like sometimes I'll do that. Like, it's over, you'll get the op. Like, I'm not the timeout guy. Like, don't give me that role. I'm not gonna take timeouts. But yeah, I think it's like I'm not entirely sure when it comes to like giving people like, I feel like people kind of naturally, like if you give them space, can naturally kind of show their strengths. Like again, we were talking about like people who are really like loud and communicative. Like I think for me, where I'm more thinking about it is like player styles and like where you would put them. That's like where my mind initially went. So like on CT, typically, like most of the time, you're going to have like players who either move around a lot or they talk a lot. Typically, they're in the rotator roles because like they're going to be, I mean, it's not always the case, but a lot of the case, like you're going to find that, or at least I think that's like one of the better systems. And like players who are either really good at conserving their life or they're really good at like holding a site, or they make good decisions, like they're good mechanically or something. Like Twist, who I'm pretty sure was an anchor like most of his career, was really good at holding down a site. So there's like, I guess in that regards, there's like seeing what your team's good at. It's just like, it's more like strengths and weaknesses. And it doesn't necessarily mean like because a player doesn't do this, that they're like a bad player or something. It's more that like, you know, for example, Vanessa is very good at preserving her life. And I'm, on the other hand, I'm way more in your face and shit, right?
Yeah.
And they both have their double edge to it, right?
Yeah.
So like Vanessa's gonna not throw the round, and I might throw the round sometimes because like that's just the style I have. Like that's just, you know, I can't preserve my life, but I am someone who likes to be disruptive, and sometimes it's just too much. So like it's also like seeing like what kind of style the player is and trying to like put them in there in a spot to thrive. And rather, it's like, you know, putting a fish out of water, right? Like you're not going to make your most quiet player your IGL. Yeah. It's never going to happen. It's a terrible idea. So yeah.
It's funny you say that about Vanessa because bro, my next question.
I can tell you, I was like, I must have struck something. He's like out here chuckling.
Bro, it's literally my next question. I was going to ask you, how hard is it for you to maintain your mental and officials when you have one of North America's biggest baiters on your team, aka Vanessa?
Fucking toxic.
Bro, every time I face it with her, she's always LMSing. Always.
She conserves her life, bro.
Sure. Conserves her life. That's stat farming, man. That's stat farming.
I mean, she's got to get the dubs.
That is true. You gotta look good. You gotta look good with the stats. On a real note, though, with that question about maintaining mental,
yeah.
What do you have any like niche like mental tricks that, I mean, because you guys play on stage and that's gotta be like way more nerve wracking than like, you know, in your home with, you got like a heated blanket on you and you're just playing a league match. Yeah. Do you have any like niche like tricks to I don't know, like calm down tilt or you know, maintain your mental?
Everyone's a little different with like what gets them in the zone. I've kind of been in and out of this stage where I have felt the pressure, didn't feel the pressure. Like on the last roster we had, I was really stressed. Like going to LEN was like very stressful for me. I felt like so much responsibility, and ultimately like my head was just like everywhere. Like there were so many things I was thinking about, and I couldn't just like calm down and like focus as easily. It's not like I couldn't do it, but like I was just not happy with like my performance. Like I knew I could do way better. I could play without pressure. It just like wasn't really the case like in Valencia, for example. So I've been in like tough mental and I've had great mental. I've kind of gone through like ups and downs, and I think now I'm like finally at a spot where I'm like more consistent and more achievable like mental. And I've kind of like seen where my errors were, and like when I was in good mental, what did that look like? And when I was like shit mental, or when I was tilting or nervous, like what was that look like? And there's like a different formula for everyone, but it's more like how do you achieve that formula? Because if I say like be in the now, you're like, well, what does that mean? Like how do I just not think about all these things I'm thinking about, right? Like that's the difficult equation, and it's not always the same answer for everyone. Like there's a lot of things you could do, like meditating works on like your focus. if I had to like make it really simplistic, I think that like where your focus lays is the most important thing of your mental.
Okay.
So if your focus, and this is awesome because like I'm also ADHD, so like my focus is fucking everywhere. So it's really important that I like bring it back as often as I can to like not wander, not think about bullshit basically. So I think the most important thing for me is like your focus and where it lays. So this could be like focusing on the now, like what you're going to do this round, rather than like, man, that was a tough round. I played like shit. I really fucked up that round. Or man, like there's so much pressure. What if I don't do good or whatever? Like your mind could be on like so many other things. And typically nervousness stems from like thinking in the future. Sorry, the future.
Yeah.
So often when you think about why you're nervous, you're thinking like, what if this happens? What if that happens? You'll often notice that's the trend. And then like, you know, if you're sad, you're often thinking of the past, like, oh, I fucked up that round, man, like this and that, and you're feeling like bad about it. Like it's you'll notice that, and if you think about like your thoughts a little more, you'll notice that trend. And when you're thinking in the now, you're often like released a lot more of those feelings. Like you're not as like you're not feeling as anxious if you're like really calm and you're just like, okay, right now I'm gonna do this, they're doing this, I'm gonna do that, or whatever, something like that. And that's kind of just like being in the moment, enjoying yourself. Like, you know, you're at LAN, right? Like you're here because it's fun. It's something that like, you know, you could be out doing a million other things, but like here you are, you're like on stage, you're playing like in a tournament. This is like a dream, right? You should be like happy, you should be enjoying it. It's not always that easy, but like if you can get yourself into that mental of like enjoying the moment and being like mindful is like what people say. So that's where like kind of meditating helps, because it helps you like work on I don't know, your focus. It helps you like let go of like thoughts that you want to let go of or whatever. And also I think just like lowering your stress helps a lot. If you're really stressed out, it's a lot harder to be like happy, to enjoy yourself, to be in the now. The last event I played, I was really chill. I was having a great time and I played well. Like at least I was able to play a lot more like myself. So I was at least happy about that. And a lot of it was like trying to, again, just like find love in the game more. Love what I do. Like just enjoy the little things, enjoying being with my team, you know, like I have a great group of girls that I'm with right now. Like just enjoy the fact that I get to like be on stage and play with a great group of people and stuff like that. And just like, I'm fucking still here, like 10 years later, I'm still competing. I'm on stage. Like, you know, like there's so many things that you can be grateful about, and it can like spark like happiness. Also like feeling happy or feeling like glad, grateful, makes it a lot easier to focus. It's like obvious enough, makes it a lot easier to focus. More likely to be patient, stuff like that. So like there's a lot of like, it's kind of like hard to just be like, do this, because it means it's a different trip for everybody. Like, yeah, for me, it's like working on my mental. It's like a never ending game for me. And I've recently got more into like meditation and like reducing stress, and all that shit combined, I think helps a lot. And also just like being more appreciative of the life I live. I think it's really easy to like take things for granted.
Yep.
And again, like, you know, not having good results for a long time was like really stressful. And like I would grind so hard and I'd be like, you know, well, if I do well, like at least it was worth the grind. And then I'd in last place. Then it's like, it's hard to be grateful because you feel like shit. So it's like you gotta like find the joy, because honestly, no matter like what life you live, you could find a reason to be upset. You could find a reason to dislike something about your day, but you could also like try to focus on like, you know, things in your control, or, you know, try to think about, you know, things you appreciate a bit more. You don't have to like make it fake or anything, but like, you know, just trying to at least do it more often until it becomes like more habitual and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I was gonna say I always thought that advice was so corny growing up, like just be thankful. And then like the older I've gotten, I'm like, that shit is actually like so true. It's like the
Yeah.
cure to like anxiety and shit. Where it's like, because
Yeah.
a lot of the anxiety, like you said, it's all about future stuff. Focus on the future. When you're thankful, you're focused on like what you currently have, and like that brings you to the present moment.
The now.
Yeah.
Shit just like clicks. Like the more you hear things, the more like it starts to click. Like I've talked to a lot of sports psychologists, just like smart people in general. I mean, you like Dr. K, like he says a ton of good stuff. Like, yeah, like there's so much good stuff on the internet right now. Like you'll just find me like doom scrolling all like those videos, and like once you listen to enough, like things start to click. It's like, oh, that means the now, like that means the future, like, and then shit just like adds up, and then you start to get it more. And yeah, I think for sure it does sound corny, especially when you're like young.
Yeah.
But like everyone kind of says it for a reason, right? Like it sounds corny, but a lot of the time there's like a reason why things have been like passed on for so long, or like expressions or stuff like that. Like they often have like a truth to it.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, yeah, there's a reason why people say that stuff.
It just has to resonate with you. I think that's the thing. Like it is, otherwise it's just kind of empty words.
Yeah, I feel like you have to like you have to like eventually interact with it to actually see what people are saying. Because like you can just hear, oh, you know, be in the present, but until like you actually experience being in the present, you're like, oh shit, that's what they're talking, or like actually being thankful, or I don't know. You have to like interact with it for it to really click.
It's true. I actually like, I'm not even gonna lie, like a while ago, like I didn't even know like how are you grateful? Like it's not that I was ungrateful, but like it's like, how do you just find things to like truly be grateful for, you know? Like that's not, doesn't feel fake, you know? It's like there are some times where you're like, I don't even know, bro. Once you like figure it out, it clicks, then it like makes sense.
Yeah. That was like the recent one for me, where it's like, I don't know, it's like when you're growing up, like you're usually getting a lot of things, and then you don't really like stop to actually just like sit and, you know, recollect on like what you actually already have. And that like that's a similar thing that I've like realized recently, is like actually being thankful. Because you can say like thank you and shit, but like actually just like savoring that moment, like that shit is like, it's golden, man. It's golden.
Yeah.
Speaking of thankful, are you thankful for Munstur? How's it like been?
Is he in the chat?
No, he's not. He's not in the chat. I just said it as a as a question.
You just have it in your question.
Yeah, he's
how much did he pay you?
0.
Okay.
I said, I had it written down. I was just curious, like, what's it like working with Munstur as a coach, specifically him, and then also like just coaches in general. Like how much stress does that like alleviate as a player, or back when you're IGLing?
Yeah, I think that so right now we have Munstur, but we also recently added Shake too. Okay. I think they do like a great job together. I think like I mean Munstur in the beginning was very like, you know, we didn't know each other. We had to like get to know each other and you know, learn together. And brought a lot of systems in place. I think he like really helped with like our communication and like our goal setting. I think he did a really good job in that regard, as well as like just understanding like different players well. So I think that like he helped a lot in that kind of regard. And I mean, even like I think he's good at like bringing like a good mood too. Like at LAN, he was like saying a lot of like stuff that just like, you know, just gets you hyped or gets you like feeling good or whatever. And like I think him and Shake together do like a really good job. I think that just having more people helping it, I mean, it's like you don't necessarily want like it, how I see things is like I don't think you should just have a coach to have a coach, but I think that like a good coach is very beneficial. Because if they do the right things, then it can really help the team. But if you have like a coach who's like full trolling, they might actually make things worse. So I think like the quality is really important. And I think like together they do a really good job of like just keeping track of our progress. So I think for me, and I also think because of ADHD, it's like I can lose track of things, like get overwhelmed with like what I should be doing next or like whatever. And maybe like other people feel that too, because like you're going through your day to day, like it might become like, oh, forgetting different goals you had in mind. And I think they do a really good job of like keeping up with like how we're progressing in goals, which is really important. So like if you say, guys, like we need to get better at this, and then like you do it for like a week, and then everyone forgets, and then you suck again on it. Like you're never going to actually really improve much. So I think they do a really good job in that regard. I think that like Munstur's a very like hard worker. Like he gets shit done fast. That's something that's like really commendable. Like he could anti like your team in like overnight. Like he just has like 3 of your maps like ready or some shit. But now that Shake's here, it helps because he can delegate and they can both like work on stuff. But if you need to like, hey, I need help with like this type of reaction or this strat, like he'll find something like really quickly.
Yeah.
So I think that's like good. But yeah, in general, it's just like having resources, right? Like you don't have to like, it's like, man, I kind of want to like focus on my mechanics tonight. Like I don't really want to like hunt 5 hours in a demo to find something I might not even find. So I'm like, yo coach, like what's up? Like what are you doing? Can you find this for me? Like, you know, like they could just make your life a lot easier. Or like you can just ask them questions. You don't have to like hunt and do a lot of stuff yourself. It just saves you time. Like it's just like being more efficient for sure. I think efficiency is the biggest thing you get with like good coaches. Obviously like wisdom and whatever, all that good stuff, like depends on like your team. Like every coach will bring something different to a team. They'll have like different strengths, different weaknesses. But yeah, I think having like a good team is like having a very like versatile, like dynamic team, which I think we're pretty good. Like none of us are perfect, but we like can all pick up. And I think that's something this team's really good at is like really being like understanding that like, you know, like I have my own mistakes or things that aren't my best strong suits, but like we're not really like kicking our teammates like in their like when they're down or when they make a mistake. And I know that's like easier said than done, but like when things are hard, it's really easy to start turning on people. Yeah. Really easy to start deflecting. I think this team is really solid at trying to stay together as best as possible. Like if any of you followed our season, it was fucking brutal. Like we lost, we kept fucking losing. It sucks. Like the first few games were super close. Like my game crashed on like a full buy. And then like, yeah, this was like before they fixed that bug that like games kept crashing or whatever. My game crashed and we like ended up losing like 11-13. And it, like, you just think about like, man, like what if I didn't fucking crash on that round or like whatever, like that shit sucks. And then like, it just felt like every like, or it felt like we had terrible like karma that was collecting or something. Like it just was like terrible. But yeah, like it was mainly because like so many matches were stacked up. Like we had a match like every single day. Like we had no time to practice, and it was like really hard to like progress and like actually improve. Like we just had to be like playing matches every day. But the point is that it could be really easy to like crumble in that situation. But I think because like we try our best to like pick each other up, that it really makes like a difference. And I think it really matters like in game, like when you're having a tough game, I think it helps the mental. Like I think that I have a good mental, but I do think my teammates help a lot. Like I'm not someone who's perfect. I do tilt. I get, you know, pissy, maybe at myself. Maybe I'm just annoyed. Not necessarily at anyone, but I'm just like pissed off or like I'm just pissy. Everyone gets pissy sometimes. So I'll have like moments where I'm feeling kind of pissy, but like I noticed that like because of my teammates, I can let go so much faster. Like if I don't have like a teammate who's like kind of egging me on, like pissing me off even more, like on purpose or something, like trying to get under my skin or something. Like sometimes you have like little like ratty teammates and not in a good way. And like they're not trying to help you, bro. They're trying to like bring you down or something. It's like, don't you want to win, bro? We're on the same team. Like shit. And then it really helps like when, and people don't really do this on purpose, but like it's really easy to get into like traps. So I think it's really good that this team is really solid in that regard. Like I might feel kind of bad that day. Maybe I'm pissy or maybe I'm just sad or not feeling good. Like maybe I just feel physically ill, like happens. But like my teammates like got me. Like maybe they're like trying to make me laugh or maybe they're just like, you know, trying extra hard to like, just so I can like relax and like, you know, maybe I still play good, but like I don't feel so stressed anymore because like my teammates got me. So I think that's like a really important dynamic. And I think that like Munstur is really good at like that as well. And I think Shake is also like a really positive person. He's really good about that too. Like he just kind of recently started with us too. last few months. So yeah.
Okay, that's good to hear
Yeah.
though that you guys are all like on the same page. And
Yeah,
like
I think
that.
it's really unique. I've played a lot of different players.
10 years. 10 years.
Different teams. Yeah, and I can confidently say like it's probably the most like actual unified team that I played with. Yeah, even through like bullshit, like we're still like doing our best. Not perfect, but we hang in together.
Yeah.
But I think like culture is really important. I do feel like I take a lot of pride in like putting the building blocks of that in, because like I knew what I didn't like when I was a player, and then like when I started leading, I had the opportunity to like set like this is what I want, this is like what I accept, and it got better over time. And having like more players join now, like Vanessa is super fucking positive, like the nicest human you've ever met. And actually, I know she probably shit talks a lot of you guys, but she is actually so nice. She's actually so nice, but she does banter.
She does, man.
And yeah, she fucking banters, but she's so nice. And Emmy is also like a giant ball of energy. Like I don't know, and like think of like an energy source from space, like just something like think Rick and Morty. I don't know, they found something in space, and it's like energy, and it's like Emmy.
Quasar. She's
just
a quasar.
Yeah, giant crackhead, but like it's so like nice on the team, because I'm not like, I realized too as an IGL, like I'm not a big motivator. I'm not that girl who's gonna be like, let's fucking go guys, like every day, you know, like I'm not like always gonna lift the team. Like I can lift the team and I will, like, you know, I'll do my best, but like I can't like force it. I can't make it fake. Like if it's not authentic, I'm not that person. And like when I'm feeling shitty, to do my best, but like the best thing I can do is try to like lead it as an example in the game. Like that's like the thing I can consistently do. And I'm really feeling it, I'm gonna give my extra pizzazz to the team. But like it helps having like a Vanessa who's like super nice, and like Emmy who's like a giant ray of like sunshine. Like Baby's just like a really chill person, and Colleen's like kind of similar. Like she's a very like mixed, she's a very like versatile person where she can give you the heat, she can be like really sweet. So it's just nice to have variety, so you don't feel like you're always like have to do something. Like your teammates got you. Like I can, and I think that was a big thing, because for a lot of my career, I felt like I had to do a lot of things, maybe too much. And I think like the fact that I can like really rely on my team lets me like relax a lot. And I also think it helps a lot with stress, because like I don't feel so stressed to like perform or like have to be 110% every day to like, you know, whatever. So yeah, you know, it started with Munstur, but it really did highlight like the team and the culture and like the benefits of like at least how I benefit from like my team.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good to hear. I was gonna say, it's funny you said that about Vanessa, but we'll move on to the other question.
When you laughed, I was like, I know she talks a lot of shit. Like I always hear her talking shit.
Well, I'm not gonna lie though. I feel like everyone has a different personality in League versus in Pugs, because like I feel like in League, like I always try, like I don't tilt. Like I try and always stay, you know, level headed. And then as soon as I get in a Pug, I'm like, motherfuck this, motherfuck. I mean,
like, break free, like I mean, she banters too. Like she has her pizzazz with us too, but like she definitely, like I hear her talk to people sometimes, like you're spicy.
Low key toxic. Keep it on the low. I had, I feel like we probably. Do you have a time constraint? I have one more question. You don't?
I don't. You can go ahead. Yeah.
Are you just saying that? Like, are you getting tired?
I'm good. I'm good.
I just want to make sure.
I have a break. Like I'm on break now. Like we're chill.
Okay. I had one more question that I want to get to the viewer questions, and I wasn't sure if this one was gonna take a while, but the
all
one
questions take a while with me. That's what you're coming to know.
What I wanted to ask was, how did you? Because you have a coach now. You just said like Munstur will Anti-Stratting in like 3 days, or you said something like 3 days.
3 maps.
3 maps.
In like 3 hours. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
So you have a coach that does like the Anti-Stratting. You know, if you don't, like you're like on a team, you usually have to do it yourself, you know. So how with the coach, like, you know, you delegated the Anti-Stratting to the coach. How do you prepare for a match? How did you used to prepare for a match as an IGL? And then how do you currently prepare for matches as a player? And also, has that changed at all?
Yeah. So I think that things did change, like from Munstur joining to like I used to work with Flashy a lot. And I think that like with the team at the moment, like that we had. I thought it was more important to build like fundamentals and really have like set reactions and understand what we wanted to do. So it's kind of like the building blocks that I thought was important. I think it also really helps for like performance. So I think that like anti is good. The only thing with anti that like you might fall into a trap is like focusing too hard on what the other team is doing. I do think you need to be really like set on like what you want to do, like what you're doing, what you want to do. I think anti is very useful, but you need to like kind of have a balance. So I mean, ultimately, like if you're always thinking about what they're doing and you're like not really doing anything, you're not like taking actions, you're just like a sitting duck, like you're just like a robot. You're not like playing intuitively. You're just like, I think people can like fall into that trap easily, especially people who aren't like experienced with like using anti, which is like something Munstur wanted to get better at with us, because prior to Munstur, I wasn't too big on anti-strat. I think it's useful, but a lot of my focus was like I would like use like things that I knew, but it wouldn't be like too much of the focal point. And I would focus a lot more, like I said, like, okay, let's run this. Let's make sure on this we do that. And then like with a lot of strats, like they kind of work together where like in anti, I think it just helps you better understand the team you're playing and better utilize your book. So I think we got a lot better at that, as like, it's not necessarily like we're only thinking about the team we're playing. So it's like, let's say I call a strat and we're playing for like one part of the map. As a team, we should understand that if we're playing for that part of the map, these parts are going to be weak. And at the same time, like I talked about, like your team should understand, what do we do if they do this instead? So like we're playing for this. If they do this, we're going to do that. Cool. What if they don't do that? They do this, that basic shit that happens, right? Like Mirage, mid, they split B, or they fucking go upper B and they pop, like, or they play the round slow and they whatever, and they block out this area. Like you should have reactions in place anyway. So I think like where you pair them together, that I think we do a lot better now, is like just understanding your book better, and just like you just get extra cues. That's like it. Like you have a better read on the team, you know, gaps a little better. But ultimately, like you're still kind of playing your game. So like you should still understand that like when you're running this kind of round, like what are you conditioning? And then like I think what's good, or like that's better for performance, is being like a step ahead. So knowing that like if you did this round and this round like worked, I don't know, then like what are you expecting next, right? Like if you just fucking shit on a team in one spot of the map, some teams will re-hit that site. Like you might even have like, you might even know that like some IGLs will have tendencies. So like even in like pro play, like you'll notice that. But like you're just gonna have reads. Like sometimes the reads are gonna be wrong. Like they might not be good against a certain team, and you might have a really good feel for the game where you're like, you're expecting the next move, like you're anticipating the next move. And I think that's like really important. Like always being like a step ahead. And like anti can help there, but I think like just understanding like what you're doing and what it conditions, I think is really important. So you can just like, you're not just like being a robot. I think that's like the trap. Like you just need to be careful not being a robot. You just need to make sure you're still feeling out the game, because like anti is good, but like they could do different things. Yeah. It's not like they could change up things, and like we change up things all the time. So it's like, it's not like they can't do that. So it's important to like use it, but also understand like, so you still got to play the game basically.
Yeah.
For loss of better words,
just like keeping like the back of your mind type of thing. Like you shouldn't go in there like fully expecting that stuff to happen. Is that's what like you're saying?
The thing is like you still need to like play Counter-Strike and like use your brain, right? Like you can't like turn off your brain just because you like know a few things, right? Like if they fucking kill like 2 of your players on A or something, like they're gonna just like go A if their team is there. There's a lot of like things that you can like, you should just combine it, in my opinion. And a way to like make it really simplified is like you should still keep your game sense and combine it with the stuff you know. Yeah. So it's like if you're a player who's turning off your game sense, like, and you're just following like, they threw this, that means this. Like it's a dangerous line to walk, in my opinion, as a player. Yeah. Like if you like, yeah. But I mean, sometimes you have really good reads, so it really depends on the read.
Okay.
To be fair.
So you don't do any like personal prep like before matches? Like,
I might skim the team, but honestly, the coaches do a really good job, and like we do it together in a way where
okay.
we'll skim through the game plan together. So like I might skim them, but I might skim like just my position or something. Like now that I'm not IGLing, I focus a lot more on like what I'm doing. But when I am calling, then I'll focus a little more on like the way they play and like how I'm gonna like condition. So I like on Mirage, I still call. So I'm gonna see like how do they play, and okay, how do I want to start up the game? So like I'm gonna use like the information like my coach gives me. Maybe I skimmed it myself too. We have like a file. There's always like a file we get to read with like information. So it's not just like watching something. There's like a document. We'll like have information so we can read it. So there's a lot of different things you could do. You could read it ahead of time. You could watch it on your own, and then we come together and we like go through like what they do. We go through like the game plan basically. So if I like see how a team's playing, then I'm going to decide like, okay, I know they like to play like this. There's a few ways you can play the game. I can decide I want to condition like one type of style, or I can condition the other. I might like bait them in. Like maybe we played them before. I might like fuck with their heads a little bit, right? Like we play like Impact a lot. We play Shimmer like a million times. And I like to fuck with their heads a bit, you know? So like they'll play us, they'll probably think they have a read on us, and I'll like, yo, was good, and we'll do something completely different. And then like you'll see that in pro play too, like self anti, I guess. It's like knowing things you've done before, making it hard for teams to like read you. Like again, when I was talking about like hitting different timings, right? You might like show a same strat, you might change it up entirely, make it a little different, get a little spice to it, like something like that.
You said self anti? That's the word?
It means like, yeah. So self anti is like when you're thinking of like how a team would read you and like how a team would counter you.
Yeah.
You like think about it that way.
That's
and
interesting.
then like you work like with that too. So anti is like good in a lot of ways, whether you're like trying to anti the other team or like you're trying to like think about yourself, like how we just played, you know, what would people do if I ran this strat again? What am I expecting? And I might try to be like a step ahead if I know that this team is like watching me or something.
Would you say that only really comes up in like, I guess at the higher levels because you play fewer teams, that like self anti and anti strat becomes more relevant? Because I mean, if you're like in open, like you're playing,
yeah,
it's
like, a little silly.
Yeah, but like, you know, in Impact, you say you play Shimmer all the time. You're probably playing other teams all the time as well.
Yeah, I think it's more fun. It's like more mind games when you play a team a lot.
Yeah, it's like a sparring partner.
Yeah, I think it's more fun. It's challenging because you need to keep it different and keep evolving. It helps you like evolve in your map. You can't just like keep playing the same way. I mean, you could if you want, but it's not gonna like get you very far unless you just like out aim them all the time. But some people have that style and it works for them, and then it doesn't work for them. But yeah, I mean, like the thing is like we still like anti because we want to build a system, a foundation, get used to like our style. So we have like a routine, I guess. And like Munstur, like when he first joined, he wanted to like really get us comfortable with the idea. So like we could be anting an open team, like a team that doesn't even have hands or like strats. And like you'll just like take the very basics. You're not going to be like, when they run they'll just be like basic things. Okay, guys, like careful for this, careful for that.
Yeah.
And this guy likes to do this. Watch out. And it's going to be like very basic stuff like that. You're not going to like go too deep.
Just like practice, just to practice like anti-stratting. You're saying that's why you guys are doing that?
Yeah, like we have resources, and you know, when we get to like a tournament, like we are going to do these types of things. So we want to like prepare, be like comfortable with the things we're planning to do when we get to like a big stage, and like just create routine and get used to it, I guess.
Yeah. Man, that
because some people do shit their pants with like anti. So you don't want to be like antiing the one time of your life. You want to be like familiar with like concepts and like have a lot more routines like ingrained already.
I feel bad if I was for that open team, man. They're just getting anti-strat and they're like, they don't even have anything yet, like just totally shit on.
They're like, what the fuck? Yeah. I mean, like we definitely don't need anti, right? But it's like it's more about like getting the flow of things and building like systems.
Yeah, did you 13-0 or no? If you didn't 13-0, That's
I don't even remember.
Oh, you don't?
We've definitely 13-0'd like an impact team, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But I don't know. They probably were open. I definitely think we've 13-0'd like teams that are at that level.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because bro, if you anti open team and then it goes like to overtime.
If they got any round, it's probably a pistol round.
Yeah.
Any round you guys, probably a fucking pistol round.
Or you just blame on the lag. Pull out one of the excuses. Yeah.
It's always a fucking pistol, dude. Our pistol track record is needs some work, but we do our best. We do our fucking best, man.
So that was all the questions I had, but there was some viewer questions. I have people in the chat, they want to ask questions too. We'll probably try and keep it short though, because I have 2 from Wraeth. So
Wraith's popping off.
Bro, he is popping off. He came back. He finally came back. He told me to ask you. Well, first he told me to ask you the Goose Breeder question.
God damn it, Wraith.
Yeah, I felt bad as soon as I asked it, because I could tell you got asked that a bunch. I was like, oh fuck, I probably shouldn't have
asked it. Like, you know, when you walk in an elevator and they're like, so the weather, you know, like it's one of those questions. Yeah. And it's like, I totally get why people ask it. I have no hate to people asking it, but I'm just like, you know how I feel at this point. You're like, oh, the weather, bro. Yeah.
Or if you're like tall, like, oh, how tall are you?
Oh, how's the weather up there? Like, yeah, there's like, you know, something you've heard every day of your life kind of thing. And you're like, okay, next question. Let's keep it rolling.
I'm gonna blame that on Wraith, even though I did write that originally.
All good, Wraith. Listen, I've been asked almost like every interview, so I totally get it. And there's, you can't see it coming, but like once you see my face, like, like this question again, bro. It's like, fuck.
That's the first thing he asked, but second thing he said was he said, every time I try to compare CS2 and Valorant in front of my female friends, they all say they like the look of Valorant. Do you have any thoughts on what factors make the game more inviting to women, like aesthetics or tone? 'Cause, I mean, I also noticed that too on like YouTube. Like there's a lot more female content creators or just like female players in Valorant compared to CS. I don't know. Thoughts?
I mean, I think that's like true. I think there's a little bit there's more to it, I think. I think the art style is more like, it has more room to be cute from the very beginning. I think girls like that kind of look a little more. Like, it's not like you don't like Counter-Strike, but you don't look at Counter-Strike and go, oh my God, that character is so like, damn, you know, like people are out here like drooling over like Viper's ass and shit, you know, like even dudes are doing that shit, bro. But you're not drooling over this fucking macho fucking guy with a helmet. Like you might be like, yo, damn, look at those cheeks, but like no one means it, you know. Some people mean it with Valorant characters. I think there's just, there's more art. Like it's more like pretty, there's more like beauty to it. It's just like, it's more artistic, and Valorant in that regard is definitely better in terms of visually pleasing. But like CS is just like a bare bones kind of game. Like that's just the game it is. I do think that like there is studies with like women representation too. That is important. I am not necessarily sure that like, if I saw like, I don't know, because like the game, right, it's not very artistic. So like there's women characters, but to me, I'm not like, I mean, I think they're cool, but I'm not like, I don't know if I like saw them, would it like mean much to me? Because like I played a shooter growing up that had like, it was like a free to play and it had like chicks. I don't know, but I always played the chicks. So maybe that's like something that I don't realize subconsciously. But I do think that there are studies that prove that like having role models that are like you can relate to, so like another woman, are important, like for both men and women. Like when you look up to somebody, like you're probably picturing like, I don't know, if you're looking like think of like a superhero. Are you looking up and be like, I want to be like Wonder Woman? Most dudes are not. Let's be honest. No. And I'm not looking up to like Captain America. I'm like, I fucking love Captain America. No, because like it doesn't inspire anything out of me. Like cool character, badass, but like Wonder Woman, bro, like, and then her newer movie, like she's cool. I'm like, man, I could be like badass like her. Like she inspires me, you know? I don't get that feeling watching like the Hulk and shit. So it's like, I think that feeling everyone can relate to, you know? And I think that's like a little bit of that, like a little bit of that spice does play a role, but I think the art is like a big factor. Like a ton of girls play like League and stuff.
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
too.
There's a lot more
like,
art and
there's
shit.
more like you can express. I don't know. You can like express yourself a little more. Like you could choose a cute character, like a little yordle rat looking guy. That's like, you know, it's funny because he's like a little rat and you get to piss people off. Like that's fun to me. But like CS, you're just like a bunch of like macho characters and like it's whatever. I like the game. I've been playing it for a while. Like I think that's like the beauty of Counter-Strike. It's a very like simplistic game. It's very like difficult, but it's simplistic in a lot of ways. I mean, we got women characters, but we can't use any of them anyway.
That's right. Yeah, you can't. I forgot about that.
I like the cursed looking one. It looks like a Russian doll. She looks like her face is like. It's like really creepy. Wait, but I love her because she's so creepy.
I'm about to look this up.
I could find it.
CS:GO or
she's
CS2.
She's my favorite. Women. She's so fucking creepy looking.
So she looks like a Russian doll.
Yeah, like her face is like fake. It doesn't look real. Like it looks like you're in like a Saw movie. On me. Go find her. Agent maybe. Oh, here it is.
Which one?
Her name is Lieutenant Farlow SWAT.
CS2 Farlow. What the?
Yeah. Well,
she's a green one, right?
It's she's got like a hat on and shit. Also, I like the number K guy, the condom head. He's funny.
Bro, someone was dressed up like him at Dallas. I don't know if you saw him.
I saw him. Yeah. I signed his AK, bro.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Dude, I felt bad. I was behind him in line at the concession, and he like forgot a donut or something. I never saw him again after that.
You ate his donut, huh?
No, I should have took it though. I should have took it.
Fucking take that shit. Yeah. Eat it for him, man.
Yeah, I would have done him a favor. That was the first question Wraeth asked. Yeah. The other one talking about like customizations and artwork. He said top 3 skins you would recommend a player like Elige to buy.
Okay. Yeah. See, John doesn't buy skins because he doesn't want to go down the rabbit hole of buying things.
Oh, really?
Just so you know, yeah. But he's kind of just created an iconic thing now. Let me think. Because I think I got I love my AK skin. It's like one of the best ones in my opinion. I have the Empress. Oh. But I have a really cool, like I got cool stickers on it. It makes it even better. Like I got like John's sticker. It just says Elige glitter. Oh, it's Rio 2022. So it's like kind of like red and then like it turns like a little bit purple. So it really like purpley blue. It works with the skin really well. And then I have a gold complexity sticker. I had to scratch the other sticker. So I put a complexity one on it. Yeah, so I gotta support my boy. So I put a gold complexity one on there. So it looks really nice. Looks really nice with the stickers. Hell yeah. It's really cheap. It's 155.
For the AK or the sticker?
The AK.
I was about to say for the sticker, that'd be
I don't know how much a sticker. I don't buy that kind of stuff. It's too expensive. I would get that gold AK. Like if you're gonna ball, like just ball.
Oh yeah, that one's crazy.
That op, the new op. Which I don't know what the hell it's called. It's super pretty. It's like glossy looking in a way. It's like red.
I haven't kept up with skins lately. New op. Is that the one that's
expensive? That's all you need to know. It's expensive.
Okay, I'll have to find it later.
Op.
Are you looking it up right now?
Yeah, you can't even look up op. It doesn't do anything. Well.
Is it the one that like looks like almost like a mirror or something? Like
yes.
I know what you're talking about. That one's crazy.
Yeah, that one goes hard.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Those get some nice gloves, get a nice knife, call it a day.
Yeah. Elige, take notes.
Yeah.
That was all of the ones I had prepared. That people messaged me in. I don't know if people are in the chat. I don't really see any questions in the chat. People are just like saying big fan and stuff. Who was in here? Yeah, Vanessa was in here earlier. She missed when I was hating on her.
She missed the banter, bro. Yeah. I was hoping she was there for the banter.
Dude, that caught me so off guard. I was like preparing to ask that question, and you're like, "Yeah, Vanessa's always last alive," and I was like, "Dude."
You're like, bro.
Yeah. I guess we
That's
get.
not what I said technically. So
Wait,
she
what did you?
values her life.
That's what you said. Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, she LMS.
She does.
Goose Breeder calls teammate LMS baiter.
I'm clipping it. I'm clipping it.
Clip it.
I guess we can wrap it up here. That's like pretty much all the questions. Do you have anything coming up for you or FlyQuest that people should be on the lookout for?
I'm taking a fat break. Trying to get my driver's license. That's what's new with me.
You have a driver's license?
I've had like 2 permits, but I like moved around a lot, so they all expired.
Well,
so
how old are you?
Again. I'm 28.
What the?
Fun fact.
That's crazy. Wait, what do you do? Like, how do you move or like get around?
Oh, so I lived in I just Uber.
Isn't that expensive?
No, so like with cars, you have to pay for like insurance and like the car. If it depends how much you Uber. So depends how much you Uber, but I also pay for like Uber One and the Lyft thing, so they're all cheaper.
Okay.
And it's not as bad as you think, honestly. But if you're going kind of far, like it's not fun. But then you also pay for gas, shit like that.
That's true.
It's not as bad as you think, but I'm kind of getting tired of it. So I'm like,
you also don't control the aux either. That's the downside.
I don't. No aux. And then I gotta talk to a stranger like elevator chat all the time. So or don't talk.
Yeah.
We don't have much coming up though. We have a break and then another season, and then Impact will probably start up eventually, and then we have it at the end of the year, if/when we qualify.
When?
And yeah, I'll probably stream. It's the only thing that really could look out for. I'll probably stream once I'm done all my chores.
All right. Do you want to plug any of your stuff? Just Goose Breeder, right? Goose Breeder and everything, or?
Twitter, Goose Breeder. I have like all my social links in the connect thing. It's going to be on my Twitter profile. That's where you can find everything else. And if you're not following on Twitch, drop a follow right here to Sam.
Do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Goose Breeder, everyone. Thank you for chatting with me. Thank you for revealing some of your secrets, not all of them. Yeah. Maybe we'll get some of them another time.
Maybe next time we'll
get the secrets of the trade. But
yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
A lot of good questions. It was a fun interview.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to show up.
I'll let you off the hook with the Goose Breeder question. The rest of the video.
That was Wraeth. Well, half and half. There we go. But yeah, thank you for everyone for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next interview. Take it easy.
All right.